The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kerm Foltz along with Jack Markham. We want to welcome you to this morning's webinar. We're going to have some fun today. I think that we got some great analogies that we can think about. One of the things we're going to focus on is your website, is it considered a lead monster or is it actually considered a lead magnet? So we're going to go to work today. We're going to actually walk you through some of the online habits of today's consumers so each and every one of you have a better understanding of what makes a website more effective. We're also going to go over the must-have components of a lead capturing website. We're going to really focus on this analogy, the difference between a website and a store. So we'll walk through this quickly. We'll also go through best practices to help consumers find your site on search engines. And then also Jack and myself will have the opportunity to analyze your website, walk you through some of the things that you can implement in your business as well. So bottom line is your website a magnet that attracts consumers, that gets consumers to stay on your site, gets consumers to return to your site, or really is it a monster and it detracts people, so people don't want to come back and visit it. It forces them to hit the back button and they go somewhere else as well. So Jack, walk us through real quick on our agenda some of the key factors that we're going to focus on and really the differences between a website and a store.
Welcome, everybody. Yeah, we are going to focus today more on a website, which I'm sure 95% of you have a website today. Website's just simply not good enough. You have to have a store. So what is the difference? And what's the why behind that? Why is a website not good anymore? And why do you need more than just a website today? We are going to focus a lot. So this is a lot of concepts, a lot of strategies to help you understand that you're going to walk away with this webinar understanding that your website or your store is the #1 tool in your business. It's the most vital tool you have in your business, and it has to accomplish two things. It has to generate leads and it has to engage leads. We're going to walk through the whys behind that.
Perfect. Well said. Your website really has two goals. One, it's got to be able to generate leads, and then two, it's got to be able to educate and provide knowledge and content for each of your leads as well. So those are your takeaways. You're going to have a great understanding of today's consumer, and you're going to understand the differences between a website and the store, and you'll be able to implement a few ideas that you can add to your website right away. So here's what a successful business looks like. You always have to be aware of three factors, and guess what? Your website, all right, is a major, it determines how successful you are in each of these categories. So obviously you have to have some sort of way for today's consumer to find you. All right, the only way you can do that, or one of the most effective ways to do that in today's reality, is you got to be able to be found online, which means you have to have an effective website. So we'll walk you through that. Second way is you have to allow today's consumer to connect directly with you. All right, so we're going to walk you through how and what you have to have in your website in order to allow and enable today's consumer to connect directly with you. And then the third part, your website is also vital in this part, and that is you have to allow today's consumer, all right, to stay involved with you. All right, so notice your website plays a part in each of these three things. That's why in order to have a successful business, you must have a successful website. And so we'll walk you through each of these categories as to what is needed in order to be successful with a website. I want you to think about your website today. What do consumers think about your approach? Does your website appear just like as if you're another face in the crowd, or do you stand out, all right, and appear unique, appear successful because your website appears as a store? Jack, walk us through this whole store analogy, because we're going to talk now, okay, that a store is good and a website is bad. Walk us through how, if you just have a website, it does appear as if you're another face in the crowd. But if your website appears as a store, you actually are going to become much more successful.
Well, use the analogy. I mean, think of the biggest store in your neighborhood. You walk into that store. Do you have to go to different stores to get meat? So I can get produce here, but I can't get meat here, or vice versa. Most likely the biggest store in your area or in your neighborhood has everything you need. In fact, they're tracking and monitoring what you're looking at when you're in their store, aren't they? They're not just concerned that you're coming in. They want to know what aisles you're looking at, what content are you looking at, what goods are you looking at. Your store has to be the same. And so does your is your website today just another realtor website? Meaning when someone goes there, is it all about you? Does it play music and it looks fancy, but at the end of the day, it's not a consumer-focused website? Or do you stand out? Does your website stand out? Does it provide all the content? You know, in order to really engage leads, you have to have a website that will match up against all the search engines that consumers are going to. So think about why consumers use like Craigslist and Zillow. Your website has to offer that same content, right? It has to offer the same content as a big store if you want them to do business with you, if you want them to get content from you. So that's what we talk about, this store versus website, right? Because we need people to come back into our store, and at the same time, I have to know what they're looking at in my store, because that defines relevant content. And so if we think about think about where we've come, like think back 2004, hot market. I mean, it was everybody had fun, and then look at where we were 2 years ago, even, or a year and a half ago. What were some of the realities, the old realities a year and a half ago? Extremely tight lending standards, decreased consumer confidence, right? Consumers weren't selling, weren't buying. Very difficult time for us. Distressed properties. That's when we got introduced to more distressed properties, and home prices or home values plummeted, right? But look at today's market. Where have we come just in the last 8 months? There's fewer listings, so inventory is low. What's that mean? Prices are on the rise, multiple offers. There's bidding wars. I don't know how many agents that I have talked to personally that have been going to show their client a house. It just hit the market, and there's already 6 offers on that house. You have literally houses that are on the market for hours that are gone. Homes selling within days of being listed. Okay. Now, there still are some limited financing options, but they're getting better. There's more and more. The tight lending standards are starting to raise. And right now is probably the lowest interest rate. So there's a lot going in our favor if you think about where we've come in the last 8 months, which is exciting. But one thing that doesn't change is because we have to adapt our business. Now that the market's changing and we know our audience has changed, we have to adapt our business, because these are still the challenges that we are facing every day.
And that's where the website comes into play, Jack. Is your website, if it actually conducts itself like a store, then these are not going to be challenges anymore. Okay? Because if your website's generating leads, if your website's engaging those leads and educating them, if that website's helping you move them into more of a conversion into a transaction, because it provides the consumer with everything that they're looking for, and it provides a reason for past clients to still utilize your website to gather and collect information about the market, that's how you win. So when you have an effective website, i.e. a store, and you continue to get people back to it, these challenges no longer occur.
Right, because you're not doing little events, right? This is a process. Because you have a store, because you have that phenomenal experience for online consumers, that full store, not just a website, you're able to generate leads on a consistent basis. You're able to engage leads. And anytime you do those two things effectively, you're going to convert and you're going to continue the relationship. And what's the end result of all of that? That affects your someday goal, right? What you do today affects your someday goal, because you're building a market-proof business. And some of you are saying, well, what the heck's a market-proof business? A market-proof business is any time that you have a business that is market-proof, meaning if the market goes down, your business is still going to bring you success. Why? Because you have more referrals, more past clients, and more sphere of influence. That's how you market-proof your business, because we know those convert higher. You're not going to do that if you're not getting introduced to new people online. And you're not going to get introduced to new people online if your website is preventing that. So those are something to think about. Those are the challenges. That's why the website is the #1 tool that you can have in your business right now. It's the biggest vital piece of business that you can have.
And that's why we did our first poll question is, how many leads does your website or does your store generate a month? I mean, you got to have 50 leads a month, okay? But you can't be wasting time, and we'll walk through how you can actually generate 50 leads that will engage with you, and some of the tools that you need in order for engagement standpoint. But you know, if I talk to QFC, or I talk to 7-Eleven, or I talk to a dry cleaners, or I talk to any type of small business owner, they will always know the number of people that have arrived in their store every day that are new, that are unique visitors. Why do you think like your Safeways and your Costco's and your QFC's and your Albertsons and these stores give you tracking numbers for discounts, and so they can send you, things that are relevant based on how you shopped before, and they can track and get you back to into their store. So it's all about being able to generate unique leads, and then also have those leads returned to your store on a continuous basis. So Jack, not a surprise here that 89% of our audience had fewer than 50 leads a month, which means that they are probably having less than, maybe it's 1 or 2 transactions each and every month. So let's talk about some of the website misconceptions. First of all, a lot of people are thinking, well, they'll just type in my name, or consumers will find me, all right? Or consumers want to know all about me, or consumers call me off my website, or consumers need me for information, or on the flip side, my website can't be effective in marketing at all. Jack, these are misconceptions that we'll solve here, but notice this is agents thinking that they can't make money off of consumers, and really they're missing out on a few things. So some of the mistakes that agents make that we'll focus on here quickly is that it's not consumer focused. Okay, it's all about the agent. So on that front page, it really scares them away because it makes them appear as if they're just another realtor, and it doesn't demonstrate any expertise for that consumer, meaning that they went online to find listings or market information or things that are relevant to their process of deciding when they want to buy or sell a home, and the roadblock that agent puts up their face, or all about them, and that's like a stop sign, that forces that consumer back. Or that they don't have any traffic to the website. They're not advertising their website somewhere. The website doesn't have enough juice to be able to see it organically. Some of the other things too is that they can't have, or they try forced registration, or they don't have an effective lead capture tool. This is an important thing too that agents make the mistake on, is they have links or browsers, other browsers pop up. That drives consumers away. Jack, walk us through quickly some of the overall mistakes that agents make in regard to websites, and then guess what, everyone? Now we'll give you the answers.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said consumers aren't looking for agents. And I think why consumers go online is to hide behind the wall of the internet. So if your website is all about you and think that consumers are typing in, for instance, I'll use another analogy. When you're interested in buying a new plasma TV, do you type in TV stores? Or do you type in 42-inch plasma TVs to look at what's out there? So consumers aren't typing Seattle real estate agents. They're typing 4-bedroom condos for sale in Seattle, Washington. That's what they're looking for. So if your website doesn't speak to their language, is not consumer focused, does not provide instant gratification, does not provide relevant content, where are they going to go? They're going to hit that back button. That's why the average consumer only goes to 2 to 3 pages on the average real estate agent site. Do you know why? It's because there's no content there. There's no reason for them to stay. And that's not going to generate leads. That's not going to get engagement for you. So for some of you, right, I think 11%, or was it 11% that are generating more than 50 leads? Okay, those more than 50 leads, are you converting them though? Are you engaging with them? Are you having conversations? Do those 50 leads turn into contacts? Do those contacts turn into active? Are they emailing you directly? So some of the biggest mistakes we make is we only think about our website being out there as a billboard. It's more than a billboard. You can't just have a billboard. You have to have a store. That's why it's so important to understand what consumers are looking for.
Do we all understand the analogy, so we can move on, between a store and a website? Okay, a store has inventory. A store keeps people coming back. A store has content that's relevant to the shoppers. Do we all understand the difference between just having a website versus having a website that actually acts as if it's a store? Feel free to chat in any questions that you might have as well. And then, Jack, let's take a look at, here's our sales funnel. Okay, here's our sales funnel. Again, we're going to talk about the difference between just having a website and then a store. So, Jack, it starts with, all right, website visitors, okay? But if you only have a website, it's going to end there. If your website appears and acts as if it's a store, this is when the fun begins.
Right. I think it's important for every agent to understand how this funnel operates and how it benefits you. If you have just a website, so everyone picture your website. Yes, can you drive traffic to any website no matter what it looks like? Absolutely. You could do Craigslist. You can do all kinds of things to get traffic to your website. You might even generate some leads. Right? Maybe if you have a force type registration and force people, you might generate some leads. But look at all the other things that it takes to get down to the bottom, which is our #1 goal, and that's GCI, or gross commission income. You have to move people through the funnel. How are you going to do that if you don't offer a store? How are you going to do that if you can't match up what other stores are offering? And those other stores that you're competing with, by the way, those aren't small stores, right? Zillow, not a small store. Trulia, not a small store. Craigslist, Google, those are what you're competing with. You're not even competing with other agents. You're competing with companies and big stores that offer so much content that it's going to prevent you from moving people through the funnel unless you provide that same content. And so I think you have to understand the different level of consumers to understand how it's going to affect your income.
And I think the other thing we have to understand too is you probably have several websites. You probably have a personal website. You might have a website that your brokerage offers you as well. I want you to just think about these concepts, all right? And we're going to go over the 5 must-haves in a website. Actually, there's probably 6 or 7 must-haves in a website. We'll walk you through that. And then we're also going to walk you through what happens if you don't have that must-have included in your website. What are the implications to your business? So I just want you to think about whatever website that you're using today, what are the implications if you don't have one of these must-haves. So the funnel starts with website visitors, but if your website does not have these 5 or 6 must-haves, you are not going to allow that consumer to go through your sales funnel. You will force them to another website online with other agents. So Jack, here's that whole consumer timeline. This is why it's vital to have a store that you have consumers continuing to come back to. Right, because they are gathering and collecting information, deciding really when is that window of opportunity for them to make a great decision in either purchasing or putting their home on the market.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect example of understanding not only today's online consumer, but I think it's more than that. It's breaking down sellers versus buyers, and you'll see they're very similar in their timeline. But you have to understand that when you drive traffic to your website, there's no such thing as a bad lead. And everybody says that, and I'm sure each one of you have used that before. But how do you make a good versus bad lead with an online consumer? You don't. It's just where you get introduced in that timeline. So if you have, let's say, a website today that's all about you, and you drive people there, guess what type of consumers, or guess where on the timeline you're going to meet more consumers. Either you're not going to meet them at all, okay? They're going to be going somewhere else, or you're going to meet them at a part in the timeline when they're not ready to talk to you, therefore there is no engagement that's happening. When you offer a complete store, think about that now. When you get met, or when you meet that consumer at no matter where they are in the timeline, you're providing relevant content. And therefore you can move them and work with them through the timeline. So here are the must-haves for your store. And so as we go through here, Kerm, I think it's a good idea that everybody has a checklist and they mark these off. Does their website have this or not?
And this, as you had mentioned using your words, is this determines if you have a complete store or an incomplete store. Okay? If you have an incomplete store, one is it's going to force you to sell more. 2 is going to force you to have probably more peaks and valleys and inconsistent months. All right, and it's forcing clients of yours or contacts or leads to go somewhere else. It's really going to force you at times to spin your wheels. And you had said you're not going to be able to survive in different types of markets. So these are your must-haves for your store. I need you to write these down, and then, all right, don't answer if you have these yet, because we're going to define them later. All right, one is your site has to be consumer focused. It cannot appear as if it's all about you, because remember, consumers aren't searching for you. Jack made the great analogy. If you're looking for a TV, you don't type in TV stores. You type in the type of TV that you're looking for. All right, so what pops up? The specific TVs, not TV stores. So initially you can gather and collect information about the type of TVs, look at reviews, look at the implication it has from a price standpoint. The next one is it's a true IDX. All right, Jack, that's an Internet Data Exchange, which really means is you are able to display all of the listings on the MLS or from the MLS right there on your site. Not the company site, not the brokerage site, but that's your inventory. That's your product. That's your produce. That's your meat. That's your dairy. Okay? Being able to display all of the listings right there on your site. The next one is your product also has to include neighborhood information, community information, statistics from the schools. All right? Mapping. It's got to be able to provide product that's important to your consumer so they don't go somewhere else. All right? Jack?
just as you're going through here, I just want to remind people, yes, I'm sure all of you have this in your business. Okay, I'm sure all of you can provide your clients updated neighborhood information. You're a realtor. That's what you do. I'm almost positive that all of you can do that. But is it on your store? That's the big difference. If it's on your store, guess what? People stay in your store. They shop down more aisles. They look at more goods. If you can just provide that, then how do you bring them back to your store? So that's something to think about. The other thing that you want to think about is the value proposition lead capture tool. Think about your website. How do you capture leads? Do you have an open registration where if they're interested, they'll call or email you? How does that work with today's consumers? We know they come online to hide behind the wall of the internet, so that's not going to work out. Is it forced registration? Okay, meaning you have to register to get content. You have to have a value proposition lead capture tool that's going to allow people to opt in. SEO community served. Look, we know buyers today and even sellers, they're looking communities. They're looking more neighborhoods and communities now. So that's just the way it is with consumers. You have to have that ability on your website. I think the next one is pretty self-explanatory, mobile technology, how many consumers are actually using mobile devices, so your business has to have it, has to be mobile technology. And then integration with CRM, and we're going to talk in great deals about this because most of you are probably importing leads into a database. We're going to walk through the differences. So let's kind of understand why do you need a store versus a website? What's changed? Why is this so important? Why is Kerman Jack talking so much about this store? Because look at today's consumers. How have they changed? Just look over the last just look since 2004 how consumers have changed. What information are they gathering today? Maybe that's not too different to you. Maybe consumers have always been gathering this information. But here's the real difference. They had to use you in 2004, right? That's why we had Floor Time, and we probably generated a lot of leads on Floor Time because people called us, they emailed us, because we controlled the content. Well, today, guess what? Not the same. Look at how many different avenues a consumer can go to get content without you. Literally, they can do it without you. There's only two things that a consumer needs from you during that timeline, and that's keys to the house to go view the house and representation. Other than that, they can gather all their content from all kinds of different avenues without you, which makes you irrelevant. So some of you are probably guilty of sending them places to get content. Hey, go check here and call me back. The problem is you have to realize of how much competition's out there on those other avenues. And so that's why we say online consumers aren't loyal. Well, we force them into that. So we have to understand why it's important to have that store. Why is it important for them not to go anywhere else but to gather content from our business? When you have a complete online store, now I can utilize different avenues. Now, what do all these different avenues have in common? All the arrows are pointing to one central location. That's your store. Right? If you just have a website, you can't do this because most of these avenues won't work. You've probably tried to generate leads on Google, probably on Craigslist because it's free, and that's the thing to do now, right, is generate free leads on Craigslist. Well, I will tell you this. It is absolutely an effective tool, but if you don't have a store, then you're going to waste your time, and your time right now is your money because we're realtors. And so when you have a store, now I can effectively build the roadmap to the business.
And then after you have consumers visiting your store, so you've captured them as a unique first-time visitor, now it's all about strategies and techniques to get people back to your store. Okay, so you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to welcome them, they've had a great experience, we'll walk you through how you do that, and then it's all about how do I get them back into my store. All right? And then the advantages of getting them back into my store over and over and over is I get to learn about their buying traits. Okay. What are some of the things that are important to them? What are some of the things that they are viewing? What are they doing in your store? What aisles are they visiting? What cans are they picking up? What juices are they purchasing? Okay, so you get all of this insight, so therefore then when you do reach out and approach that person who's been visiting your store over and over and over, right, you feel like you already know them. They feel like they already know you. So that whole friendly experience now, all right, is effective. No longer are you chasing people down or guessing when to reach out to them. So it's all about getting people to your store for the first time in a unique way, and then techniques and strategies to continue to have them shopping in your store. So what's in it for you, you have more information so you know when to reach out and what conversations to have. okay? Because you can utilize all of their activity that's occurred in your store over recent days and weeks. All right, you already know what they're shopping for. And the benefit for you as well is it eliminates all of the other search engines, all of the other choices that they have in regard to where to shop, okay? Now that we all understand that, now we're going to dive into all of these 4 or 5 things specifically. So Jack, let's talk about that first must-have, which is being consumer focused. I think one of the nice things is if your site is very focused on the consumer, it allows them to really stay. They feel comfortable staying and shopping. All right, walk us through this concept that's similar to Facebook.
Well, you think about, and all of you can probably relate to this, is if you are driven to Facebook or you go to Facebook, it's not just a quick visit. You don't just look at one picture and then, oh, well, I'm done, right? I mean, how long are you engaged on Facebook? It sucks you in. So your website has to be similar. It has to be that shop or that store that people get sucked into, and before you know it, they're there a half hour and they looked at 12, 15 pages. I mean, that's the concept that you want to accomplish by having an online store. Consumers gather information that's relevant from me instead of without me. Given the choice, do you want your consumers to go to a Google or Craigslist or Zillow to get information, or would you rather have them getting that from you? If the answer is from you, then why wouldn't you have this in your store then, right, which is your website? And then natural engagement occurs. When you have a consumer-focused website, natural engagement happens because the longer they're on your site, the more opportunities they have to reach out to you, that neighborhood expert. If you don't have a consumer-focused site, here's what's happening. Consumers click the back button and leave your store. On average, the average consumer stays on a real estate site 8 to 10 seconds and only sees one page. That's because most agents today just have a website and not a store. That's the difference.
That's a ton of impact. So if your site is agent focused to start off with, or not focused on the consumer, you are forcing them to go somewhere else. So now let's think about, we've established a phenomenal first impression. Now how do we allow and enable consumers to stay on your site and the impact that it has on their business as well? So that's the impact of having IDX. When consumers can view up-to-date listings and they're accurate, that's like having all of your product available, all right, in your store. This is your inventory. It doesn't matter if you have no listings. With IDX, not iframed, which Jack will talk about in a second, but when you have an IDX feed going into your store, you're displaying all of the listings. This is now your inventory, okay? And it provides the consumer with instant gratification. You've been a consumer before. How often do you walk into a store or try to find something online and you can't find it? Okay, it frustrates you. You don't want to look around. You give up. Right? There's no need for your shopper or your consumers who are shopping on your site to go somewhere else because you provided them with listings immediately on your page. You didn't force them to click 7 or 8 different boxes, right, and put a whole bunch of information in. They want instant gratification. Okay? Then also, as Jack had mentioned, just natural engagement occurs. Now all of a sudden your consumer is viewing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different pages. Now the impact that if you choose not to have IDX on your site, let's talk about the impact it has on your business. One is consumers are just going to go elsewhere. They're going to click the back button and they are going to leave your store. Your website provides absolutely no value to consumers, okay, which leads to no engagement and no reason for them to stay on your site. Then, Jack, our third part is you got to be able to demonstrate expertise. One of the ways to demonstrate expertise is by showcasing community information, neighborhood information, market information right there easily on your site as well. You had mentioned most realtors have this, but it's not necessarily in their store, okay, or they send them away down to another store. Walk us through this.
Well, this is the huge part. I'm sure there's a lot of people on today's call that have traffic coming to their site every single day. But are you generating leads? Are you getting leads? If you're generating a lot of traffic and you can see that, but you're generating less than 50 leads on your website, it's because you only have certain things on your website. You probably have a website that's about you. You probably have a website that probably has IDX, so it gives them some pictures and details of homes. But does it give them community information too? Because we know as a consumer, I'm going to initially go online to look at pictures and details of homes. But then what happens? You know they go into a deeper gather mode and they want to know schools, and they want to know zip code comparison, they want to know market analysis, and they want to know community amenities. They want to know all that, and so what you do by not offering it in your store is they'll go somewhere else. They'll go to a Zillow, they'll go to a Craigslist, they'll go to Google and get this without you, therefore meeting how many other agents, and then guess what? They're a lead on 7 other websites. You have to appear as a neighborhood expert. You cannot appear as a realtor anymore. You have to be a neighborhood expert. Why? Because that's what consumers are looking for, and that's what consumers expect. Plus, this is the #1 content that drives people back to your store. When you generate a lead today, how do you get them back on your website tomorrow? If you're not doing that, if you're not eliminating that search engine that they found you on, where do you think they're going tomorrow? You have to use this content to drive them back. Relevant content to all demographics. And some of you are saying, well, what is relevant content? Each person defines what relevant content is for that person. Okay? The average consumer, when you have this, now you'll start seeing the average consumer will visit more than 4 pages on your website and have natural engagement. If you don't have it, consumers are going elsewhere to get it. You appear as that salesperson or that realtor, and then that's why no one answers your emails. You're chasing them.
It's almost as if you think 20 years ago, you're working with a couple, they have a couple of kids, they're sitting in front, and now they ask you a question about community. And you're like, I don't know, I don't have that information, but Bob does. He's down the hallway, 3rd room on the right. Okay, that's the impact and the implication in your business if you don't display and show that information right there on your website. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is lead capture. Okay, I want you to understand, why do consumers go online today? Really, for real estate reasons. Really, it's for 2 reasons. Okay, one is they want to see listings that match a certain criteria in an area, right? So they might look for 4-bedroom, 2.5 baths, 2,100 square feet homes. Or maybe they're a potential first-time home buyer and they're looking for 2-bedroom, 1+ bath condo townhome. They're going online to search for specific homes that match a criteria in a price range. They're really determining initially, is this even possible? Okay, what's the dollar amount that's going to be attached to the home that I'm looking for? The other reason why they go online is because they're curious about, is this their window of opportunity to put their home on the market? Okay, now if they don't go on like, I want to sell my home, but they are initially going to have to figure out, okay, what's my home worth today? How does it compare to other homes that are on the market? All right, and is this my window of opportunity to put my home on the market and get the dollar amount that I want? Do I have enough equity in my house today to effectively put it on the market, okay, and sell it at the price I'm comfortable with? So in order to have an effective lead capture tool, right, it has to align with the value of why consumers go online. Let me tell you what a value proposition.
Anyone there? Okay, lost audio. Okay, we'll have to figure this out. Okay, Frank, can you hear me? Okay, great. Let's. Okay. So we were talking about lead capture, and Kerm was walking through the differences. There's really 3 types of lead capture, right? And I'm sure Kerm was going over this. Aligning with today's consumer is getting people to opt in. Then there's no registration, so that's the open registration, which we know 90% of consumers aren't going to do, right? They're not going to email us or call us. That's just not going to happen. In a perfect world, we'd love it, but it's not going to happen. And if it does, it's not enough to build a pipeline on. Forced registration, we're going to have a lot of leads. Guess what? They're all going to be Disney characters, right? Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. We're going to have the whole Disney cast in our pipeline, but what's real? What can we actually build a GCI off of? We don't know because we're forcing people to register, so we know that's going to be a lot of fake names, okay? I'll go back to the top. You have to align with today's consumers and their goals. Think about this for a minute. What is the consumer's goal when they type in anything online? To gather content, to hide behind the wall of the internet, give me content, I'll contact someone when I'm ready. What's your goal? What's your goal when you generate a lead? I'm assuming it's one-on-one conversations, one-on-one interaction, right? Think about how different those two goals are, and think about what happens when those two goals collide. Who wins? The consumer's going to win every time because today they're in control. They don't need us. We're irrelevant unless we are the ones that are providing content and allowing them to remain behind the wall of the internet. Most of you aren't comfortable with that because you don't have the right tools to engage with them. And it's because, again, not to be a broken record, but it comes back to your website. If you had the right content in your store, you would be comfortable with that because you would bring people back to this constantly. Okay? It places you actually further in the timeline than having just a website if you have a store. Think about that for a minute. Think about that timeline again. And think about how if you're closer to research or if you're closer to pre-research, which is phase 1, you have to provide relevant content, otherwise you have no shot. The closer you get to phase 3, it's all about value proposition, isn't it? It's all about why they should choose you and not another realtor. Your website has to provide both of those. And then we'll hit on this, I think the most is I want everyone to understand the difference between a database versus an integrated CRM. Most of you have a database where you generate a lead and you're importing it in somewhere, whether it's Outlook, Excel, Top Producer, Goldmine, I don't know. You probably have a database where you're importing this lead in, okay? But what's it force you to do every single time? You're making a sales call and you're guessing and you're chasing and you're trying to gather all this content. When you have an integrated CRM, it keeps consumers informed. It keeps them engaged. It's the only way you can offer insight. Here, I'll go back to the store analogy for a minute. Yes, it's great to have people coming back to your store, but what good is that if you don't know what aisles they're shopping in? Right? You have to know what aisles consumers are shopping in and what they're looking at because guess what? That defines relevant content, doesn't it? Not the fact that they came back to the store, but if you think about what defines relevant content, it's what they looked at in your store. Well, the only way you're going to see that is if you have a contact management system that is connected to your website, right? Because now I can gather insight and behavior of my buyers and sellers so I know what's important before I reach out. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, right? Because if you have a database, what you're experiencing right now is you're chasing, you're guessing, your consumers are not loyal, and you're getting no engagement whatsoever. Therefore, your conversion, if you generate 300 visitors a month and generate, let's say, 10 leads, you're probably having a tough time converting a lead into a contact into an active consumer, active into motivated, because you don't have relevant content and you're constantly just touching base or checking in. Okay, consumers are absolutely avoiding that. So I want to showcase the complete real estate store, because some of you are probably saying right now, and we see the chat questions, what's the best website to have? It's not about a website to have. It's about having a store. Remember? You can't have a website. You have to do more than that. You have to be more than a real estate agent. You have to be a neighborhood expert. Having a complete store. Look at all the things that it takes to have a complete store. Okay? Market Leader will help you implement this into your business. And here's the thing. Here's the kicker. This complete real estate store will make sure it's $99 for life. $99 a month for life. You have the complete real estate store. Everything we talked about, everything we told you have to have, everything on the screen, if you're a visual person right now, $99 for life. Think about how much money you've probably spent on a website. Some of you spend thousands of dollars on a website, and you go there, and it plays music, and it looks nice, but if it's not generating at least 50 leads a month, is it effective? I can make sure that you have all the things that we talked about, and it generates more than 50 leads a month for $99 a month for life. Okay? Remember, it's about not what you want as the realtor. You got to take the realtor hat off and put the consumer hat on and think about what consumers want. because that's what matters, right? It's that consumer interaction, and it's needing and servicing the consumer. If you service the consumer, what do we know about today's consumer? Buyer or seller, what do we know? Over 70% of consumers choose their agent today based on the first person that can provide them relevant content. And over 60% of those consumers, it only takes less than 1 day to do that. Can you afford your website not to generate 50 leads a month then? Because if you're generating less than 50 leads a month, how is that affecting your someday goal? Are you ever market-proofing your business? Or are you going to continue to ride the up and down market? If the market crashes, your business crashes. You can market-proof your business by having the right tools in place, by having the store. You can absolutely market-proof your business. A lot of agents do it. And those are the doers. And those are the people you see that are consistently in the top of their office, and the top of their market. All right, so, Kerm, are you back yet?
Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure. Yeah, we're back. All right, sorry. All right, now I'm back. It sounds like we have an opportunity to go live and visit someone's website. So, Joe, we're going to take a look at your website. Joe's issue is his site averages 300 people visiting per week, but not one lead. He thinks he has a lead capture tool. So, Jack, let's walk through and take a look at some of this. So this is his front page, all right? Let's just play around as if we're a consumer.
So the first thing, Joe, I have to tell you, and hopefully, you know, I'm obviously, this is nothing meant to you, but I'm going to give you some real feedback. I think it's important to give you real feedback. Love you, Joe, but I'm going to give you some real feedback on your website. If I go here as a consumer, it is not attractive to me whatsoever. There is way too much stuff going on, Joe. Think about the #1 reason why I came online. Think about that for a minute. Think about the #1 reason why I'm online right now. I want to see pictures and details of homes. And yes, they're down here, but they're all the way at the bottom. There's so much things going on. There's so many different things on each sidebar. It's distracting as a consumer. Okay? It's distracting. Other listings are way on the bottom. The #1 thing they came online for is all the way at the bottom. Okay, so now you got some other things here, which is great. But how many of your consumers are actually going to spend more than 8 to 10 seconds to go and look on your site? And when I go there, nothing's coming up. Okay, so I want you to think about this. If I'm a consumer, what is the #1 thing I want when I go to your website? All of you have to say pictures and details of homes. I don't want to see a picture of Joe. I don't want to see anything about him and his family, nothing. Because if I'm the consumer, we have to understand they don't care. They really don't care who you are, how long you've been in real estate, who you represent. They don't care. They only care about what's in it for them. Now, will all of this stuff be important down the road? Yes, further down the timeline, they will care who you are. They will care what brand. But you've got to earn that relationship first before you even get to that point. And so that is providing relevant content.
So what we're missing here is we have no neighborhood information, okay? The only call to action is call me, which they're not going to do. I have no access as a buyer to any listings, okay? I'm going to click the back button and go somewhere else. I'm missing out on neighborhood information. I'm missing out on community information. I'm missing out on all of that, okay? So we'll go to one more site here in a second. But Claudio's question is, so you create a website/store, love that analogy, Claudio, for $99 a month. Is that correct? The answer is yes. Is there initial charge? The answer is no. Does it include any marketing on the web? That answer is no. All right, we'll talk about that here shortly. But yes, it's $99 for that entire store that has everything in it. Anybody else want us to take a look at your website and we can maybe show you 1 or 2 things that you can implement? The problem with this site is there are no listings. There are these links that drive the consumer to a different store, okay? And there's no neighborhood information as well. So Angela wants to take a look at her store. Let's type that in here quick.
So Angela, as Kerm types that in, I can tell right now by the web address that this is probably a microsite off your broker, right? So your broker's probably providing that for you, which is great. I'm sure every agent has that, but you also need your own personal branding. You also need your own branding that you can drive your own traffic to that speaks relevance to you, okay? So it can't be a microsite, Okay, it has to be your own. Everybody has to have their own websites for their own branding purposes. Does that make sense, everybody? You have to have your own. And your broker or Remax, Prudential, whoever you're with is going to provide you a website, and that's great. You have to have that too because that's a piece of your business, but you also have to have your own branding as well. So so this is your website, right, Angela? And go up, scroll up, Kerm. The great thing is your Better Homes and Gardens, which we have an exclusive relationship with Better Homes and Gardens, Angela, so that's good for you. Again, very easy to pick apart this website, Angela, no offense, but what's the first thing that I came to when I came to your website? I had to make, we just went through this, I had to make one click to get what I wanted. How many consumers are actually going to make that one click? Some will, and that's great. But is some good enough? Because this is a numbers game, right? If we look at that funnel, website visitors, leads, contacts, it becomes a numbers game. And you can't have any disqualifiers on your website, meaning if someone has to click, they're going to hit the back button, most likely.
The other thing, too, is we don't have a lead capture tool here, Jack. So and me as a consumer, Angela, I can just visit your site and view listings all over, and I have no way for that consumer. I'm not providing a reason for the consumer to reach out to me and connect directly with me. So a great value proposition is, so I'm a consumer and I want to have updates of homes that match my specific criteria. How do I get that from you? All right? There's no connection to that as well.
Now, Angela, what you don't want to do is you don't want to say, okay, well, I'm going to replace this then. Keep this website because this is offered by your broker, your brand, so any leads that they drive to you for whatever reason, you got to have this in place. But you also have to have your own website that handles the things that you want to accomplish in your business. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to tell you to replace this. Keep that. It's already there. And for all of you that have other websites, it's not about get rid of them. Let's use them, right? Let's connect everything in our business and integrate everything.
Yeah, and the nice thing, Angela, since you are with Better Homes and Garden Real Estate, you actually receive a discount from Market Leader. So instead of your entire store being $99, call in, tell them you're with Better Homes and Garden Real Estate, and you actually get a discount off that. So your entire store, Better Homes and Garden, pays us a specific amount to ensure that you have the right store. So great compliment to the site that you're already using. So Angela, I'll give you a phone number here shortly. Don't go anywhere. All right, a couple of things here. We had George wants us to take a look, Jack. As I do some of the chat questions, let's take a look at George. His site is formorerealty.com.
Okay, so this is the one up on the screen, I believe. So George, looking at your website, I mean, obviously you've been on this webinar for over an hour. What do you see now? Right? So not only do you want me to give you my feedback on your website, I want you to give your own feedback on your website right now too, right? All the things that we discussed. Put yourself in a consumer standpoint. Somehow I find you off, let's say, Craigslist or Google, and I'm driven to your site. Am I staying? Am I staying? Are you going to capture me for more than 8 to 10 seconds? How? Okay, there's a lot of stuff on the right-hand side, but I got to make some clicks there. It's not instant gratification because the #1 driver of why a consumer goes online is what? Pictures and details of homes. So they're on the bottom. You have featured listings on the bottom. Okay, it needs to be right in front of them. It has to be the one thing that you suck them in with. What's great about Facebook? Why do we all get sucked in? Because every time you go to Facebook, what do you see? Pictures. Pictures and gossip. And it sucks us in. Right? They don't send you to the About page. They don't send you and have a picture of you. They send you to your news feed, which is all gossip and pictures. That's what sucks us in. So think about your website as the same as Facebook. You have to suck people in with what they want. So when you do the quick search here, that's a lot of stuff here. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a couple things here. No community information, no neighborhood information. I have 2 kids. I'm looking for a better school district in Austin. I click on Austin. I do not see any school information. All right. So what would it force me to do, George? It would force me to go somewhere else. I've several times tried to find homes. I am now on my 3rd screen, and I have to put in a lot of clicks in order to see what type of home I want. I'm just going to most likely use the back button. The other thing, too, is where's our lead capture, Jack? Let me go back to search listings in your area. It's forcing me to click another button. Let's just type in Austin. Let's just hit search. Okay, we're seeing here how many. I mean, I assume. Yeah. So there's only 3 here. There's more than 3 homes. I want to click a couple. I want to view. I'm closing out. I'm going to a new home. We don't have a lead capture tool here as well. Okay. So and right now you're telling me there's only 3 homes in the Austin area. That's an issue. All right. So George, a couple things here. Love the face. Love the picture up here. But what we're missing is community information. We're missing listings from the MLS that match a certain criteria. We're also missing a way for today's consumer to connect directly with you. So there isn't a lead capture that drives them back to your site. Okay? I'm also going to assume you have no idea that I was on your site or in your store. You don't know that I viewed 2 homes. That's an issue as well. Okay? So we'll give you some of that as well. So Jack, we're getting people, does Century 21 get a discount? Does Coldwell Banker get a discount? I'm going to walk you through everyone on today's call will get the opportunity to have a complete store for only $99. Okay, that's lifetime. Your entire store is only $99. All right, and the nice thing about it is it includes everything. I love the phrase that it's the complete real estate store. And then for those agents who want to be a part of the $1 Million Pipeline program, we'll give that phone number. But Jack, walk us through real quick. What does the $1 Million Pipeline program entail?
So all of our clients that are committed to their own success, and when you call in, they'll walk you through kind of how to get enrolled in this program. But most of you, right, most of you probably have had products. You probably purchased this website, your current website the same way, or any products, but then it stopped at that. What we do is we have workshops that Kerm and I run. So these are weekly workshops every Monday morning at 9 a.m. And I put the class schedule up so you can see what we're talking about. We're excited because June 3rd is generating leads, 20 leads in 7 days just from Craigslist. This is a 2-part series. We're going to spend 2 hours on how you can generate leads on Craigslist using your market leader solution in your store for free. This is all included once you're a client. So when you call in, when Kerm decides to give you guys a number, you call in, ask, I want to be a part of the $1 Million Pipeline program. This is coaching that we provide on a continual basis. So, there's not a lot of companies that will do that. We're very proud of it because one thing we know is we're dedicated to make sure that our clients see more success. These workshops, the feedback we got are tremendous, which is why we had to do a second season and why we had 10 more commitments on classes over the next, all Mondays at 9 a.m.
So think about your store. First of all, a lot of people, we haven't had time to go through everybody's website, but call in. They can walk you through some of the things that you can implement in your business. But here's the phone number. Your complete store is $99. $99. Think about the impact, Joe and Angela and some of the people that we've been able to look at the websites. Think about the impact that just $99 would have on your business. What's happening to consumers today when they go into your store? Well, they leave, and there's no engagement, and you're almost forcing them to another store. That'll be completely fixed with the complete online store that Market Leader provides you, and it's $99 a month. Do you know how many agents make the mistake going out and spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on a website? Okay, and again, it's not meant to replace what you've already created. You can tie both of them together and have them connected. And it fixes all of the pains that you have felt when working with today's consumer. You're tired of chasing them. You're tired of them demonstrating that they aren't loyal or guessing when to reach out, or the fact that you do reach out and then they've gone with somebody else. That's because you did not offer them that complete online store. So the phone number for the complete online store, $99 forever, it's 888-820-4778. Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Better Homes and Garden, RE/MAX, I can go on and on and on. We have relationships with those franchises and companies. Okay? So we will be able to provide you with that complete online store for only $99 a month. Phone number is 888-820-4778. Everyone call in. Okay, we'll get everything set up. It takes 5 minutes, $99, no upfront costs. The $99 does not start till the beginning of next month. Are you kidding me? We'll do all the pictures. We'll do everything. $99 a month. And guess what you're going to have? All 7 of the must-haves that you need in a website. It'll be consumer-focused. Okay? It'll provide them with all of the active listings from your MLS. It'll provide them a reason for them to connect directly with you and become a lead. That value proposition will align with the reason why that consumer is online. It'll provide them with all of the neighborhood information, market information, statistics, community, demographics, everything that a consumer would need so they don't have to go to another store and shop. Okay? And even better, you'll have the opportunity to increase your SEO juice, all right, as well as it's mobile. So consumers can utilize your site no matter where they're at. They don't necessarily have to be in front of their computer or laptop to see listings. And finally, no more databases, no more importing leads. Because the CRM is integrated with your website, it is solely responsible for driving your clients, your leads, back to your store. How nice is that? You will now see visitors returning to your store every day and every week. And because you'll be able to track and monitor all of everything that they did in your store, you'll know when that right time is to reach. So the phone number is 888-820-4778. 888-820-4778. What's great, Jack, too, is it's $99 a month for the complete store.
Yeah, if I go back to that poll question, Kerm, 89%. 89% of people on today's webinar generating less than 50 leads a month on their website. Think about that. There's a reason why that's just not a coincidence. If you're less than 50 leads a month, okay? So it's because you don't have the right tools on your website, and your website is simply a website and not a store. You have to have a store. If you want to engage with today's online consumer, you have to have a store. It has to do 2 things. It has to generate leads, and it has to engage leads. If your website is not doing that, then you should call, because this is how you impact your business, right? This is how doers impact their business. So 888-820-4778.
And the last question someone had is, I don't have any listings right now. Should I wait to have some? This isn't about your listings. Every listing in the market will be shown on your site. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope that you can now implement 1 or 2 things to make your website more a store that's consumer friendly. And I would love for each and every one of you to call in, receive the $99 online store, the complete online store for life, $99 a month. That phone number is 888-820-4778, and you can find out ways to join the $1 Million Pipeline program. We'll teach you how to get 50 leads a month. All right, and for $99 a month to have the complete online store, all those frustrations you have had in the past working with today's consumer will go away. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Phone number is 888-820-4778. Bye-bye.